The Royals just got bad news regarding their pitching staff. Kansas City is now dealing with two important injury updates that could impact both the rotation and the bullpen moving forward. We'll see how the team handles things from here and what these situations could mean over the next few weeks. We have all the latest news and updates right here on Royals Digest. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian Sparks, and I hope you all are having a fantastic day. If you haven't already, do me a huge favor. Hit that bell, hit that button so you never miss an episode posted here on Royals Digest, as we're going to be bringing you guys daily Royals content all throughout this long 162 game season with videos just like these, but also shorts, pre and post game live streams. All that good stuff is coming very soon. I can promise you that. But we'll have you guys covered from start to finish. Now, we just got some very unfortunate news. It actually just popped up on my phone. That is directly related to what we're talking about today. But the other day, we got some pretty major injury updates. And I mean, first off, I hate talking about injuries. They suck. I hate covering them. They are not fun. But if you can recall last year, this pitching staff, they got beat up. More so the rotation, but nonetheless, the pitching staff, they got plagued with injuries. I mean, every single pitcher in that opening day rotation at some point throughout the year dealt with some type of injury stint, missed some time. It was something to see. It was frustrating to watch. It sucked. It was horrible. And I hate talking about injuries. But the reason why I bring up that pitching staff is because both of the injuries we're talking about today directly relate with the pitching staff. Both the rotation and the bullpen, and two of the bigger arms, I would say, on this staff. If you guys did not see, Andy Rogers announced that Cole Ragans had valgus extension overload in his elbow. Next steps are to be determined based on how he feels the next few days. And you know that notification I was talking about on my phone? Well, like I said, it directly relates to this, and Cole Ragans is on the 15-day IL. That to be determined, and the day by day, he's on the 15-day IL. So that is very, very unfortunate for him, and we'll get into that. But also, Carlos Estévez has a right rotator cuff strain and is shut down for the next 3 weeks before being re-evaluated. So nothing changed, I think, with Estévez. He's still, missing 3 weeks and still dealing with that right rotator cuff strain. But for Cole Ragans, it sucks. It was not fun seeing him leave the game for a number of reasons. Obviously, injuries, like I said, I sound like a broken record. They suck. I don't like talking about them. But Cole Ragans, his main goal this offseason was to be available, to get healthy. He has just dealt with so many injuries that date back to his time in the minors with the Rangers, where he underwent 2 Tommy John surgeries. One is insane, but 2 is, oh my gosh, that is crazy. So he did that, and then he came to Kansas City, and of course we saw what he did in 2024. He was phenomenal, just an insane year from him. And then 2025, dealt with injuries. He missed the majority of the year, a couple of strains, just stuff that is just so unfortunate. And so going into this season, a main thing during spring training in the offseason was just getting healthy, making sure he can pitch a full season. I mean, he even turned down the opportunity to pitch for the WBC just so he can focus on his health. And I was about to say in baseball, but I feel like this applies in every sport. The best ability is availability. And if you can't play, you don't really bring a whole bunch to the table if you can't stay healthy, if you can't play. And so because of what we know and the type of caliber player we know Cole Ragans is and what he brings to the table, it is very unfortunate. And before I saw the news that he was hitting the 15-day IL, there was a little bit of hope. And of course, you can't believe anything you see on the internet. But everybody was saying that, the injury he was dealing with, he's just going to miss a start, maybe 2, and then be back out on the mound. And so, of course, you have to take that with a grain of salt because they don't know any more than you do. But still, it kind of installed a little bit of hope, like, okay, this isn't going to be as serious. But no, he's on the 15-day IL. And, man, I feel for him. He was so worried about getting healthy in the offseason. And, I mean, despite the injuries, he just also hasn't really had the best start to the 2026 season. We've seen flashes. We've seen flashes of that 2024 Ragans. We haven't seen that consistency. He left before leaving the game on Wednesday. He got through 3 innings before he had to leave an outing early because he got hit in the hand with a line drive. And then again on Wednesday left after 3 innings with elbow and shoulder tightness. I mean, even through that 3 innings, that first inning, he generated 6 whiffs, which is insane. I mean, that's the Cole Ragans we all know and love. Through the first 3 innings, he generated, it was a scoreless 3 with like 10 whiffs. And so it sucks. It kind of felt like he was ramping back up to that old Cole Ragans self that we all know and love. And unfortunately just has to deal with this injury stint and is going to be sidelined for 15 days and then rehab and just play it by ear then. I don't know. It sucks. But as for Carlos Estévez, he has gotten off to a very rough start to the 2026 season. And it all started back in spring training when it was announced that he is yet again off to a slow start and ramping up in terms of his velocity. That was the main thing, that, his velocity was nowhere where it needed to be. In 2025, he sat 95 to 96. I think his average was like 95.9 or something like that. And so he was well under that. He went to the WBC, didn't pitch much really at all. And then, like whenever he came to Kansas City in 2025, the same thing happened during that spring training. And then by his first outing, he was kind of there. And over the next couple outings, he got back up to himself. And then, of course, led the MLB in saves. But this year, it was made obvious through his first outing that this time it was different. Not only his velocity was way down and nowhere where it needed to be, his control wasn't there. He came, I think it was the second game of the year in Atlanta. He comes into the game, bottom of the 9th, with a 2-run cushion. Just needs to get 3 outs, and you win the game. Ended up blowing the save, allowing 6 runs, and that was capped off with a walk-off grand slam. And like I said, both the control and the velocity were way down. The next day, he shows up in a boot, and then it was announced later that he was entering the 15-day IL with a left foot contusion. And he took the entire month of April to not only get healthy with his foot and everything else, but also allowed him a little bit of extra time to ramp up, get that velocity back. That was his main thing. Again, this dates back to spring training. Everybody was concerned, really, about his velocity and the pitching state he was in before the season. But, they were like, oh, he's going to get on the mound and the adrenaline. Granted, it does play a big factor, but I don't think it plays that big of a factor where he is upping his velocity by 7 miles an hour. And so I think he took this, in April to recover from that left foot contusion and ramp up. And so he started his first rehab assignment this past Wednesday in Omaha, and it did not go to plan, as he only made it through 3 batters until signaling that his arm was hurt. He was pointing at his arm, and the trainer came out and he left the game. He got through 3 batters, and his average velocity, I think, was 90, low 80 or high 80s, low 90s. And so it just wasn't the outing we're all were hoping for. Didn't really know what was wrong. He didn't want to push it. I think that's what Matt Quatraro said, that he didn't seem overly concerned about it whenever he was on the phone with him. He just didn't want to push it because it was his first outing back. And, well, it was later announced that he has a right rotator cuff strain and is out for the next 3 weeks. So 2 huge injury updates regarding the Kansas City Royals. Not ideal whatsoever. Huge. Again, 2 big arms. You have the Royals ace and the saves leader in 2025 out for a decent amount of time. And so we'll see. Luckily, again, I guess it's early. It's May. These players have a chance to come back and still contribute to this team. But, man, I feel for them. It sucks. It does. Let me know what your guys' overall thoughts are in the comments section below. Just how you feeling? How you feeling about this season? Put it in the comments section below, and how you're feeling about both Ragans and Estévez and their road to recovery and back. Hopefully make their appearance back on the mound as quick as possible, and a smooth recovery for them. But that is all I have for you guys here on Royals Digest. Have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your weekend as always. Go Royals.